Wayne Gretzky, I said, run for prime minister. You'll win it'll take 2 seconds, but.
Gretzky, I mean, he's great. He is the great one. He skates to where the puck is going. It's not going to MAGA. The puck is on a Canadian ice rink. And by the way, Mr. Trump, please, before making public pronouncements that Wayne Gretzky should run for prime minister, give yourself or get yourself a briefing on the nature of parliamentary democracy, a Westminster parliamentary system, and a constitutional monarchy where no one runs for prime minister. We have elections for members of parliament. We don't get to pick and choose among our billionaire friends for who gets a seat at the cabinet table.
Damn! In the wake of Trump's first presser of the year, where he threw out some absolute classics like electric heaters cause the itch.
Heat, as the expression goes, you don't itch. Does anybody have a heater where you go and you're scratching and that's what they want you to have. They don't want you to have gas where
windmills drive whales crazy. Renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
Changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
625 million acres is the whole ocean. Well, it's less than 0.7%, but who cares about facts?
Experience, we have people that I can rely on, but the 625 million acres, people can't realize, it's like the whole ocean.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Rain comes from heaven, drip by drip. And lastly, Wayne Gretzky for Governor of Canada.
I said, well, am I going to run for prime minister or governor? You tell me. I said, I don't know, let's make it governor. I like it better.
I know what you might be thinking. 4 more years of this, there goes dry January. Not to worry, guys. I come with a moment of refuge, or 4 to be precise. In response to Trump's many disparaging remarks regarding Canada, Canadian MP Elizabeth May, leader of the Green Party, had quite the response to the president-elect, and I think it's worth every minute of your time.
If we were to work under the assumption that you're serious about making Canada 51st state of the United States, the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada said, under no circumstance will it ever be the 51st state.
Maybe he won't win, but maybe he will. I don't
care. You had suggested
listen, I don't care what he says.
But Sir Lopez, you said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No. Economic force. Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something.
Mr. Trump, please, before making public pronouncements that Wayne Gretzky should run for prime minister, give yourself or get yourself a briefing on the nature of parliamentary democracy, a Westminster parliamentary system, and a constitutional monarchy where no one runs for prime minister. We have elections for members of parliament. We don't get to pick and choose among our billionaire friends for who gets a seat at the cabinet table. If they're not an elected member of parliament, well, Canadian system is different from that of the United States of America. I suggest that Mr. Trump find one of his grandchildren's school books and look at the year 1776, which may explain a few things to him about why our systems of government are different. I don't want to belittle Mr. Trump, but on the other hand, hey, Donald, have we got a deal for you? You think we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province. How about it? California, Oregon, Washington, you've got geography in common with us. And not only that, we've already got a carbon trading system between California and Quebec. We've got some strong alliances on our west coast from British Columbia. There's been a lot of academic papers on the idea of Cascadia. So California, Governor Newsom, and Washington State, Jay Inslee, and newly elected Governor of Oregon, Tina Kotek. How about it? Want to put a referendum to your citizens? Because this is what you deal. Have we got a deal for you? This is what you get. Free healthcare. Universal free healthcare. No more 1-year-olds who suddenly fall off the Medicaid list and their parents are in the news because they're trying to do a GoFundMe so they can get their daughter to a doctor. Universal free healthcare. And guess what? Those gun laws that your Congress is too afraid to pass because of the national gun lobby, we already got our strict gun laws. That's why we have the safest streets around the world, or at least in the United States, by the way, the most recent stats, 5.9 out of every 100,000 people is killed in a fatal gun incident versus 0.88 per 100,000 in Canada. That's because we have strict gun laws. California citizens, Oregon, Washington, safer streets. Here we already have good gun laws, and women have a right to an abortion under our universal health care system. But, we don't have to stop there. Donald, think about it. You could get rid of all these states that always vote Democrat. You know what else will take Bernie Sanders off your hands? Proud new Canadian citizen of the great province of Vermont. Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. We'd love to see you. Our maritime provinces already have deep, deep links and ties. Well, enough kidding around. But honestly, President Trump, get used to it. Canada is a sovereign nation full of, guess what, proud Canadians. We're not jingoistic. We don't boast a lot. That's one of the things we kind of have in common with Jimmy Carter. We're not a big nation for braggarts and bullies. We actually like to think we're of service in the world. We could do better. We can always do better. But we love our country. And it's a country. It's a nation. And we do not aspire to be a 51st state. So let's not hear that anymore. If it was a joke, it was never funny. And it ends now.
And these remarks come after President-elect Donald Trump said on Tuesday that he wouldn't rule out exercising military or economic coercion to further his goal of bringing both Greenland and the Panama Canal under US control. This as Trump's least loved son, Don Jr., is in Greenland amid Trump's push to acquire the autonomous territory of Denmark.
Wanted to touch on the world on fire that you mentioned, but let's start, if we could, with your references to Greenland and the Panama Canal, so forth. Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No.
And can you tell us a little bit about what your plan is? Are you going to negotiate a new treaty? Are you going to ask the Canadians to hold a vote? What is the strategy?
Yeah, I can't assure you, you're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this, we need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something.
But if you're over here wondering, how are Fox News covering Trump's already embarrassing start to the year? Here they are trying to spin his attempts to strong-arm Denmark by noting how President Harry Truman once tried to buy Greenland in 1867, which would be remarkable, considering Harry Truman wasn't born until 1884.
We'd be adding Montana, basically, for the Republicans, and electorally like a Texas for the Democrats. And I don't like that. But the fact that they don't want us to take them over makes me want to invade. I want to quench my imperialist thirst.
It actually is not the first time this has happened. They're calling the president-elect bananas and crazy for coming up with this idea. But by the way, this is not the first time that America's tried to buy Greenland. Back in 1867, Democratic President Harry Truman tried to buy Greenland for $100 million, which would be about a bill in our day and age, $1 billion. Didn't happen. Obviously, still very important. And as you mentioned, Jesse, has a lot of minerals. Very important for our country. I think the president may be onto something.
Yes, this is the most watched cable news network in America, ladies and gentlemen. But the thing is, here's what many in traditional media could learn from this Canadian MP. Less sane-washing, more pushback. I mean, just listen to how CNN covered his train wreck press conference today.
And taking Greenland from the Danish. Where's the economic message there?
I certainly see your point about the economic message being a big driver for the election, but a lot of his supporters also just like that he bucks tradition, that he doesn't do what others do, that he's willing to throw stuff out there that may be controversial. And he portrays himself as a negotiator and a businessman. And a lot of his supporters, frankly, like that. A lot of his supporters, frankly, like what he threw out about, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Pam, I get that. I get that. Politics has become entertainment in this country. And by the way, I'll be the first to say that there are some apple carts that should be turned over. It takes me years to get a bridge built in Connecticut. You know, we're not moving projects that are critical to the American people as fast as we should like. But at the end of the day, the business of government is very, very serious.
It's going to be an even longer 4 years unless we shelve opinions like this and be more like May.
You know, under my watch for Ontario, it'd never be for that at all. We have the greatest country in the world. We have the greatest province anywhere. Any sub-sovereign nation is Ontario and the rest of the provinces as well. We would, you know something, to the president, I'll make him a counteroffer. How about if we buy Alaska and we'll throw in Minnesota and Minneapolis at the same time?
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.